This is Ireland, home to Guinness, U2 and our exclusive test of the Evoque. The new baby Range Rover is targeting young, sneaker-wearing fashionistas like those found here in Dublin's uber-trendy Temple Bar. But can it justify the hype? Will it work in the US? And is it a true custodian of the Land Rover badge? The first thing that shocks you is its size. It's a full 19 inches shorter than the Big Daddy Range Rover, and it takes up no more road space than a Ford Focus. There's a four-door that we drove earlier, and this two-door which Land Rover is optimistically calling a coupe, probably because it's more expensive. It's an almost exact replica of the LRX concept we saw debut in Detroit a couple of years ago, and it's certainly provocative. But I don't think that's a bad thing. If you want something sensible, buy an Audi. Basing a production car on a concept does bring some compromises. It's not exactly easy to get in the back, and this front seat takes an absolute age to motor forwards. Once you're back here, it's actually surprisingly comfortable, even if you're a tall guy like me. And I reckon it's well worth opting for this panoramic roof. The trunk's a bit small though, and some people might find these very shallow side windows a bit claustrophobic.
Those in the front have a much better time with no shortage of dead cow and posh gadgets. You can even opt for a 17-speaker hi-fi. It feels expensive, which is just as well.
The name of this car is significant. Land Rover's determined to establish Range Rover as a bit of a sub-brand, making posh toys while the mothership concentrates on more utilitarian tools. And that's why the Evoque can sit side by side with the LR2 on the showroom floor. And you only have to go a few yards to appreciate the Evoque is a very different car to drive. The old Land Rover command driving position, which allowed you to see all four corners of the car, is gone, to be replaced by something a lot more sporty. The steering too is much sharper and much more positive. No Land Rover we've ever driven has felt this responsive.
The Evoque's offered with a 2-litre direct injection turbo engine developing 237 horsepower and an impressive 251 pounds-feet of torque.
It really suits this car's character with its little raspy exhaust note and its plentiful mid-range pull. Land Rover claims 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds, which feels about right. Out here in the country, the Evoque is a bit of a revelation. You never quite forget that the centre of gravity is a bit higher than would be ideal, but it can be hustled along and it's genuinely good fun to drive. We would pay extra for the adaptive dynamics though. We'd offer a better combination of a smooth, comfortable ride on the highway and a bit of extra control on roads like these. This is Tattersalls, one of Ireland's leading equestrian centres, and the sort of place where you'd find a real Land Rover. And if we're honest, the Evoque does look a bit out of place. In Europe there will be a two-wheel drive version of the Evoque, but it won't be coming to the US. Here, every model will have a Holdex clutch four-wheel drive system and some pretty trick electronics, which is why you don't need too much talent to do something like this. Gentle on the throttle. Up she comes, up she comes. That bit of the horse. Can we get it down without taking the front spoiler off? This is a proper Land Rover.
By switching off the stability control and selecting sand mode, you can make the Evoque oversteer, which is silly, but amusing.
Let's have some fun. Push the throttle on, let the rear end slide. The Evoque goes on sale this fall, priced from $44,000 to $53,000. Now, to charge so much for something so small is an act of real courage. You can, after all, have a 7-seater LR3 for similar money. But to compare the two is a bit pointless. This is a very different car for a very different sort of person. It's bold, it's imaginative, and it makes rivals like the Audi Q5 look a bit, well, boring. And for that reason, more than any other, we think this Evoque deserves to succeed.